Hey guys, we're on chapter 5 of Anne Frank, and last week I read the conventional text, which is the all white pages with just words, and that one is for an adult to read to you. And so today I'm going to read the graphic novel, which is what you will be reading to an adult. Okay, so let's take a look. It was hard to be quiet all day long. Anne wrote to Kitty every day. Kitty was Anne's best friend. Anne said, I miss my school. I miss seeing my friends at school. But Anne had to stay in the hideout. There was a small radio in the hideout. At night, the radio gave the news. Japan was fighting against the United States. The United States was fighting against Japan. The United States was also fighting against Germany. The United States had to fight against the Nazis. The war was getting bigger. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 5, okay? And we're going to work on a sheet today looking at a map of Pearl Harbor and how the United States gets into the war against Japan, okay? You can see here is a picture of Pearl Harbor, all right? And this is what spurns the United States to fight against Japan. Okay, let's take a look at that now. Alright guys, hey, today is April 21st, it's a Tuesday, and today's lesson we're going to do a map activity, okay? We're just going to kind of get a look at the Pacific theater. So we already looked at a map of Europe, right, and it had how much of Europe Germany had taken over. It had Great Britain and the Soviet Union as the allies, and it had Italy and Germany as the Axis. Well, now we're going to take a look at the Pacific Theater. And why is it the Pacific Theater? Well, this part of the war, because it is a world war, most of it's happening in Europe, but this is happening in the Pacific Ocean in between Japan and the United States. Okay? You notice that Japan, all they have to do to get to the United States right here, around San Francisco, California, is to skip across the ocean right here. Okay, and we're kind of undefended in between there. And that's kind of what happens, only they don't come all the way to the United States. They attack us halfway in Hawaii, and they attack Pearl Harbor. Okay, so let's take a look at this map. World War II began in 1939. The United States joined the war 2 years later. Let's find out why. Okay, so if they started the war in 1939, why did it take the U.S. so long to get into the war? Well, we aren't in Europe, so we don't want to just pick fights with someone that we don't have to. So no one had attacked us for 2 years, okay? But we knew at some point someone might, because this war was ramping up, and that's exactly what happens, okay? In December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy, is what the president said. Japan dropped bombs on American ships and airplanes in Hawaii. Now, we didn't know this attack was happening, okay? People were sleeping. People were sleeping in the boats and in the ships. So when the bombs hit, it wasn't like we could fight for ourselves. It wasn't a battle. Okay, wasn't like Call of Duty where two people were fighting each other. Japan kind of sneak attacked while we were sleeping. Okay? Now the United States was fighting in World War II. American soldiers went to fight against Japan. American soldiers also went to fight against Germany. Okay, so now we've joined the war, we've joined the Allies. Now, most of our forces are going to be fighting against Japan, but we did send over a good bit to Europe to help bolster Great Britain and France. And for this point, they've been fighting for 2 years. They're tired, so getting that kind of some fresh troops from the United States, that was a big turning point in the war. About 2,500 American soldiers were killed at Pearl Harbor. Many American ships and planes were destroyed. The next day, the United States went to war against Japan. Okay, so you'll hear a lot about Pearl Harbor in World War II. And why is Pearl Harbor? There's so many battles. Why is Pearl Harbor so important? Well, this is the battle that makes the United States have to join the war. Because until this time, we have not been directly attacked. But this was a direct attack against Americans, sleeping Americans at that. 2,500 people, Americans, died at Pearl Harbor when Japan attacked. Okay? For a generation of people, this was the biggest terrorism event that had ever happened. Okay, the closest thing that we can think back on is 9/11. Okay, in the World Trade Centers. Okay, but this is what happened in Pearl Harbor. Okay, we were attacked while people were sleeping. We were not at war with Japan. We had just had peace conferences with Japan, and they attacked Pearl Harbor. So it made us very mad, okay, and we joined the war, all right? And we needed to protect ourselves because we were now being attacked. And Japan was in an alliance with Hitler and Germany, okay? They had taken over. Nowadays, we think Japan's just a small island, but they had taken over much of China, Manchuria, and a lot of these Pacific islands over here near Asia. Okay, so Japan was a lot bigger than they are today. Okay, and they had a very militaristic society, so they viewed military wins and fighting as important. Okay. All right, so that's just a little background, okay? And you can take a look at this map, okay? If we take a look at the map, the United States is here, and in the middle of Japan and the United States, and the Pacific Ocean is huge, okay? But they shrunk it down a little bit, is Hawaii, okay? It takes a long plane ride to get from the United States to Hawaii. And the reason we had ships here is because it was like a halfway point over to Asia and the rest of the continents. So it's a good launching point for our ships and things. So there's a lot of ships and planes here, and Japan knows that they're close to Pearl Harbor. They're closer to Pearl Harbor than the United States, and if they could take over Pearl Harbor, they could launch their ships and planes to the United States, which would come right here to the mainland, the United States. Okay, so this is a very big, very dangerous war that happens here, and if we would have lost Pearl Harbor in the Pacific, then they would have been right at our doorstep. Okay, so let's look at some questions about this. All right. Once again, it's April 21st, and we learned why the United States joined the fighting in World War II. Use the map, words, and pictures to find words that finish each sentence. Okay? On December 7th, 1941, Japan dropped bombs on ships and airplanes in where? Where did they drop them? Did they drop them in Asia? Did they drop the bombs in Germany? Did they drop the bombs in Hawaii? Okay, if we look, they dropped the bombs right here in Pearl Harbor. And Pearl Harbor is a part of Hawaii. Very good. Okay, they dropped bombs on American ships and airplanes in Hawaii. So, I looked back, I found my text evidence, all right? And now I can answer. C, Hawaii. All right, about 2,500 soldiers were killed. Okay, all right, is this during the whole war? Is this in Germany? Where was this happen? Where did this happen? Okay, 2,500 American soldiers were killed at Pearl Harbor. That's one day. That's a morning. Okay, that many people in one morning. All right, so that's at Pearl Harbor. Okay, and Pearl Harbor is that military base in Hawaii. American soldiers went to fight against who in World War II? Okay, did they fight against Germany and Pearl Harbor? Did they fight against Japan and Germany, or did they fight against Hawaii and Japan? Well, one thing that can help you understand this is that Hawaii and Pearl Harbor are part of America, or part of the United States. So we're not fighting against them, okay? We're fighting against Japan, all right? And we are also fighting against Germany, okay? So if I was finding my text evidence, American soldiers went to fight against Germany, and American soldiers went to fight against Japan. I found the answers in two different places, but they both go to the same question, all right? So Japan and Germany. All right, and that is my 3 questions for today. I hope this map helped you guys understand a little bit about why the United States joined World War II, the attack on Pearl Harbor. All right, guys, have a great time. Hey, guys, it's Mr. Alt. Did you enjoy that video? You finished your work for the day and wish there was just something else you could do? Our Microsoft Teams page, available on your computer or on your phone or tablet, and come to the left and click Enrichment Opportunities, and there's lots of extra things here for acting, art, science, history. You'll see our Jeopardy games, lots of fun stuff to do if you finished your work for the day. It's extra, so it's not mandatory, but it is there for you. Okay, Enrichment Opportunities under Mr. Alt's class. Have a good one!